12 soldiers posed together for a photograph. Back in 1883, one of them was a famous war hero. But 141 years later, when experts examine the picture closely, everyone is stunned. The worn cardboard box was marked Mixed Magnus Archives Items, not organized. William Harrison was the head archivist at Magnus Church of England Academy and carefully tilted the box to see if water had ruined it. It seemed okay. He slowly moved it to the long table by the window. The box held old theater programs, student-grade books, receipts for curtain rods, some damaged photo film, and then he discovered a photograph. He paused what he was doing. The image was around 8 inches across and mounted on old brown cardboard that was yellowing. 12 men were arranged in 3 lines, some seated, others standing upright in perfect uniforms. Their expressions looked solemn, but not mad. Someone had written words in pencil at the bottom, slanting slightly toward the right. C Company 2nd Battalion. Together, good luck to everyone. Summer 1883. One name right away grabbed his attention. Bromhead. William carefully turned the card over and saw more faded pencil marks. Major G. Bromhead, others not known. He gasped. Major Gonville Bromhead was the school's most celebrated former student, a hero from the Rorke's Drift Fight, winner of the Victoria Cross Award, and portrayed by Michael Caine in a film. One of the Academy's 4 student houses was named for him. He raised the photograph toward the light. The image was clearer than he expected. You could make out the watch chain on Bromhead's waistcoat, the sharp folds in their trousers, and even the narrow stripes on the sleeve of the man at the far right. William placed the photograph in a protective cover and walked slowly to the back office. "This appears staged," said Dr. Margaret Ashworth the following afternoon, setting down her teacup. She was visiting from Nottingham Trent University to study military graduates from the East Midlands region. William had invited her to examine the picture. "I wondered if maybe it was a reunion or some kind of event," he offered. She studied the names closely. "This is puzzling," she said softly. "Some of these names, like Captain J. Thornfield and Sergeant Whitmore, don't appear in any military records from 1883. Could they be made-up names? Perhaps, or they could be ordinary citizens, but that would be even stranger." William leaned in. "But you recognize Bromhead, right?" "Oh yes, though it's curious. He appears older than 35 in this photo. That could just be how photos turned out back then." She reached for her bag. "Would you mind if we digitize this here? My department has a high-resolution scanner I can use." William helped her position it under the overhead scanner, keeping the card steady with 2 white-gloved fingers. A bright white beam passed over it. Later, the monitor displayed their faces enlarged. When they magnified the image, every detail became visible. One man's coat was slightly ripped at the sleeve. Another had a thin scar mark across his knuckles. In the back row, one soldier's coat was entirely lacking any military decorations, such an obvious absence that it seemed intentional. "Let's enlarge it more," Ashworth said. Her tone had shifted, less interested now, more like a doctor studying something. The uniforms appeared correct but wrong in ways that were difficult to describe. Some of the military titles didn't quite fit how the soldiers posed or how old they appeared. The positioning wasn't balanced, and one person in the back seemed to be holding a cane, which would be strange for an active military company photograph. William glanced at Margaret. Her expression had grown very serious. "You notice it too?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "This isn't a regular group photo. If anything, it's designed to look like one." He examined it again. She was correct. They weren't posing with confidence. They were posing for a particular purpose. A phrase from the writing returned to him. Good luck to everyone. It didn't sound like a reunion. It sounded like a farewell. And for the first time, he felt something chilling pass through the warm archive room. May I show this to someone I know at the War Studies Department? She asked, speaking softly. There's something here that doesn't make sense, and if I'm correct, the government won't want this to be made public. William said yes. Dr. Ashworth's email arrived 2 days later. No, hello, just one sentence and 2 files included. William, 3 of the names can't be confirmed as real. The 4th one, Lieutenant Charles Fairfax, shouldn't exist at all. William put on his reading glasses, moved closer to his computer monitor, and opened the files. One was a chart that matched the names written on the group photo with every known military list, award record, and local service file from 1,875 to 1,885. 7 names, half the men in the photo, simply weren't listed, not even as medical staff or helpers. They weren't in military trial records, retirement files, or transport records. These men, soldiers wearing uniforms and identified by someone from long ago, had left no mark in history except in this single photograph. The second file was more troubling. Lieutenant Charles Fairfax did show up in one place. A colonial death record from Assam, dated October 1883. But the line that should have explained how he died had been blurred or purposely wiped out. It only said, "Foreign person found in regular clothes, cause unknown, no other military record." William grabbed his phone. That evening, Dr. Ashworth sat across from him in the archive office. She appeared exhausted, her laptop open but unused. "I spoke to someone I trust at the Ministry of Defense Archives," she said. "There is a file, or there used to be one." William waited. It was listed under C Company Twand 24th, Special Unit 1883, but it's classified as secret until 2075. Why? She hesitated. He wouldn't say, just mentioned the review date had been moved. William looked back at the photograph, now in a frame and attached to the office bulletin board. 14 men in neat coats, positioned with intent, Bromhead on the left looking mysterious, the others neither happy nor stern, somewhere between prepared and already doomed. Margaret went on, "If these men were never officially recorded but photographed in complete military uniform, it means one of 3 things. Either the photo is false, which it isn't, or the Army dismissed them for wrongdoing, which would have left some record, or..." She paused. They were never supposed to exist in official records. William blinked. "Like a secret Army unit?" She exhaled, barely nodding. "That term isn't as fictional as it sounds." He reached toward the photo and gently touched under the handwritten names. "Good luck to everyone. And yet someone wanted them to be remembered," he said quietly. They sat silently, surrounded by the humming of fluorescent lights and the groaning of bookshelves. "I'll search civilian death records," William said finally. "I'll examine pension issues," Margaret answered. They didn't shake hands or make any official agreements, but they both knew this wasn't just scholarly research anymore. It was personal. Later that night, William wrote a brief message on the East Midlands Military History Forum, a private, members-only discussion site used by archivists, amateur historians, and former military officers, seeking information about an 1,883 photograph showing Major Gonville Bromhead and several unidentified soldiers, possibly linked with C Company 2nd 24th. Names don't appear in standard military lists. Suggestions welcome. Contact Warrison at magarc.org, UK. He included a low-resolution section of the photo, just enough to show how they were positioned, not their faces. 3 days went by with no responses. Then, one morning, a message showed up in his email. Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. Dear Mr. Harrison, I saw your message on the forum. I think I have something you might want to see. My great-grandfather, Lieutenant Robert James Hartwell, worked with Bromhead for a little while and kept diaries. One diary talks about a group picture taken before an army mission in 1883. I haven't looked through the writings closely myself, but if you want to see them, you can come visit. They're kept in my family's collection here in Norfolk. Best wishes, Henry Hartwell. Margaret read it 2 times, surprised. Did he just say Army mission with Bromhead? William sat back in his chair, eyes big. He did, and he talked about diaries. He nodded. This could be the first real eyewitness story we've found. Not just guessing, but real written proof. William and Margaret planned to visit that same week. Henry's house was a red brick farmhouse sitting between small hedges and bumpy fields. He let them into a room that smelled like dust and old candle wax. On the dinner table sat a small wooden box made of dark wood. Nobody's really looked through these since my dad passed away, Henry said. We thought it was mostly old letters and tobacco boxes. Inside were tidy bundles of letters and 4 field notebooks wrapped in waterproof leather. The handwriting looked like the neat writing on the original photo. Tight, slanted, careful. Margaret turned to a page with a date. 6th June, 1883. Put back together men from C Company and 124th, mostly experienced fighters, some new young guys. Bromhead came this morning by special transport. Looks older, walking with a small limp. We head east in 3 days with the engineers. Maps aren't clear. Heat is awful. But the boys smiled for a photo. Maybe the last one. She read the last sentence 2 times, then looked up at William. The boys smiled for a photo, she said. That's our picture. It wasn't an official record. It was a farewell. A personal one. William leaned forward, reading the line himself. The simple words felt different now. Not a formal portrait, not a reunion. You want a Rada, a quiet knowing before something awful. Margaret turned the page. 9th June, 1883. Loaded wagons with gear at Mandalay Junction ran into enemy forces on the road. 2 scouts hurt. No telegraph connection past Prome. Engineers worried. Bromhead walked with me tonight, said nothing about Zulu, said everything with his look. Some of the boys have started praying, others hum quietly. Fairfax plays with a small charm. I think he misses someone. She might be nobody to miss him back. She turned another page. 12th June, 1883. Night attack, lost 1 tent, 2 mules, and Private Matthews. Didn't cry out, good boy. Whitmore treated injuries with powder and bandages. I think he knows this mission will fail. We kept going through the water. It's dark, with reflections. Margaret's voice trembled on that last line. William reached for a notebook. So they were attacked before the photo was taken. She nodded. And they kept moving. William brought up the digital picture again on his laptop. The familiar image filled the screen. 14 men. Uniforms neat. Faces serious. Bromhead on the left side. He slowly zoomed in on their hands, something they hadn't examined closely before. One pair of pants had light spots on them. Not dirt, not mold. Blood. You said they took the picture after Mandalay? He asked. She nodded, checking the date again. The diary says they took the photo on the 6th. The fighting happened later. William paused. What if it was backwards? What if the date is wrong? Margaret froze. He continued, "If this was taken after the fight and not before, it means someone purposely wrote the wrong date." She stared at the scan. "And that would make this a controlled image, a fake one." William stood slowly. "A picture meant to show unity, order, pride, non-O, but taken after chaos, after death," Margaret added. And just before they vanished, she turned to the next page of the diary. 17th June 1883. "We were beaten. I'm writing this by candlelight in a cave near the canyon. The engineers are gone, and only 8 of us left. Fairfax is dead. Whitmore disappeared. Bromhead took a bullet in the leg, but pulled one of the boys out under fire. We burned the maps. No messages got through. Nobody knows we're here. They won't admit this happened. The order came this morning. Put all survivors into the 66th under different names. We are to vanish." Margaret closed the notebook with shaking hands. William didn't talk during the drive to Shrewsbury. The only sound was the quiet hum of the road and the occasional rustling of Margaret's notes. Beside him, they had been given 1 hour, with strict watching, in the private back archive of the Royal Shropshire Military Museum, where a recently received donation from a retired colonel's estate had been sorted but not yet digitized. The trunk waited for them in a cool, wood-paneled room, no dramatic locks, just an old brass latch and a handwritten tag that read, "Mixed Materials Burma, Not Processed." Inside, yellowing maps, a rusty compass, a pipe stem, and at the very bottom, a thick bundle of letters tied with oil-black ribbon. Margaret untied the knot with slow hands. One envelope, water-damaged but whole, had the words, "To be delivered, if ever found, M.G. Bromhead." She opened it carefully, lifting a single folded page. Bromhead's writing was small, slanted, and sharp. "To whoever finds this, know only this. We went because the Crown asked us to. We served without flags, without parades or welcomes. What we did because someone had to. We were promised we'd be remembered in silence. If you are reading this, then the silence has been broken. Say their names if you can. We were not ghosts, we were men." William read it again. Then again. A picture, that group shot, was tucked behind the page. Another copy, clearer, not faded. Same men, same setup, but with one difference. In this version, 14 names were written in full underneath. Complete ranks, complete names, all readable. William's voice broke. Whitmore, Fairfax, Thornfield, and Bromhead. They had posed not for celebration, but for memory. That photo, reprinted and relabeled, was not meant for command or the press. It was meant to survive even if they didn't. Margaret looked at the envelope's date, 29th June, 1883. He looked at her. This proves it. The special unit, C Company's ghost team, they was real. They were sent to Burma, erased after the ambush, and scattered on purpose, she said, voice quiet. They looked through the rest of the trunk, a map with penciled lines marked "Unacknowledged Border," 2 blank casualty tags, and a ministry letter dated months later that read simply, "About your question regarding Company C, 224th. No such unit exists in operational records. No further letters required." William stood slowly. He pulled out his phone and opened the Academy's digital scan of the photo. Same faces, same pose, same mysterious expression on Bromhead's face, and the same scratchy handwriting. C Company, 2nd Battalion. Together, good luck to everyone. Summer 1883. He said it out loud before he realized it. Soldiers pose for a group shot. 141 years later. Researchers zoom in. He stopped. Margaret finished it for him, and turned pale. The display was small: one framed picture, one wall panel, and a narrow glass case containing a single letter in faded ink. No flags, no drama, just a small, quiet space near the back stairwell of the Magnus Church of England Academy Archive Hall. The sign under the picture read, C Company 2nd Battalion, the Shadow Unit. Photographed 1883. Mission not recorded. Found 2024. A plastic-covered copy of the letter from Bromhead sat nearby next to a small brass sign listing all 12 names. William Harrison stood alone in front of the display, hands clasped behind his back. No crowd, no ceremony, just a moment of stillness for men who were almost lost to time and now weren't. For over a century, the truth lay hidden in plain sight, a photo taken in silence, meant to disappear with the men it captured. But what other pieces of history have we misunderstood, presented as memory but created as cover-up? Did you like this story? If you stumbled upon that old photograph and realized the government was concealing the truth, would you keep investigating or walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Some truths deserve to be uncovered, no matter how long they've been hidden. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Wishing you a wonderful day.